Part of the pleasure of being here today, first of all, excuse my voice. I am recovering from a cold that arose out of an adventure that I'll be talking about. Actually, I don't need to wait. So on Wednesday last week, I started to get an irritation of my throat. So I went and pumped myself with medicine. And then on Saturday, together with Michael, we ran 50 kilometers. I think Muyungi, you were there as well. And then immediately on arrival, so the last 10 kilometers were in rain. And then immediately I arrived, I sat in an ice box for about 5 minutes. So by the time I got home, I had broken down, so I'm just recovering from all of that. So you'll excuse me. I'm telling you that story because it's relevant to what I'm going to say. There are some people on social media who think that I have been in a high office all my life. You actually don't know my story. The man who knows my story is John. John will remember at some point in 1993. There's a day with John, we worked in a factory for 36 hours without sleeping. So when I talk about golf and rugby, I have actually been in the rugby game before, so I've been in the hustle long before the hustle became fashionable. One of the things I insisted on when Edith asked me, said, please send me your CV so that we can introduce you properly. I said, I don't have a CV, just introduce me as Robert. And that's it really, that's all that matters. If you take away one thing from today, please, 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 stop using the word retirement. Stop it. Please stop it, because the moment you use the word retirement, it assumes that you've reached the end of your useful life. And it's not surprising that people who see themselves as being in retirement, they die very quickly thereafter. And die in more ways than one. Some die physically, some become completely irrelevant, some just atrophy. It's just there, they have no use. Retirement was a concept that came out of the industrial world, factories, you work for a long time, then you leave. But part of the big problem, and Rotarian President, this is why I want to explain why I refused to give you my CV, and now I insist I do not want to be introduced by what I do. I want to be introduced by who I am, and who I am only amounts to my names. Many of you are so obsessed with what you do and the titles of what you do that you lose yourselves in them and your work begins to describe who you are. So when your work ends, it's as if you've actually died and you lose complete direction. You no longer know what to do without the work that defined your life. So for many of you, I would like to challenge you. One of the ways in which you prepare for life after formal employment is, can you stop defining yourself by the job that you do? There are people who arrive and then they write notes. I am here, former area MP. Who cares? So what if you're a former waiter at Kavira Club? No one cares. The only thing that matters to us is you. Who you are and how we relate to you, and who you can be. And who you can be will always be there until you die. So please stop this business of retirement and stop defining your lives on the basis of work that you do. Don't fuse your identity, your personal identity, with the work that you do. They're two completely different things. There's a difference between, you heard them calling me headmaster. I'll explain that story. There's a difference between me as headmaster and me as Kabushenga. Totally different things. Anybody can be headmaster, but there is only one Robert Kabushenga. Okay, there's three of us from the same family. We're completely different individuals. So, therefore, one of the problems of doing that, and it's a common practice of people who leave formal employment, is as soon as they leave, because they have nothing prepared, they cannot do without their past definitions. They never live their past glories. Half the time, they're talking about what they used to be in the past. You know, when I was the MP, or when I was... That's in the past. Why are you living in it? And because of that, there is another mistake that I think people make, and I'm learning these things as I go along, is the tendency to remain or to try and remain in the same circles that you were in when you still used to be employed. So when they chase you away from your job, you keep trying to go back to meet your former colleagues and try and keep that alive. Why? That has ended. Move on to the next thing. What are you still doing there? Because you want to be admired and people praise you. Hey, you know, when you were here, things used to be very good. No, they didn't used to be very good. People are just humoring you, but because your ego is invested in it, you're obsessed with that staying in the past. When it ends, go. And I also nearly forgot to tell you this. By the way, you can be sure of one thing. The end will come. One way or the other. Don't pretend that you'll be here forever. No, no, no. Either you will die, in which case you should prepare for it. Because you're going to die anyway. None of us is living here alive. We're all going to die. And then you can figure out where you'll end up. But you'll die. So there is a guaranteed end. So the question is, how do you deal with the end? And that end, how you deal with it, you start practicing how you deal with all sorts of ends that come and move you on to the next thing. So, I invite you to think about the end of one phase of your life as the opportunity to begin another phase of your life. One in which you can grow to levels that are completely unimaginable, that you've never ever thought of, or you never thought would be possible. Because for many of you, as I said, because you're invested in your work life, as if it is your personal life. Most of you, I'm sure, spend a minimum of 8 hours at office. Now, 24 hours, 8 in the office, 8 asleep. That leaves another 8. So how much time are you spending with other people? Rotary, you have 1 hour. Chimeza. So all those things. So when you are freed, when your time, when your 8 hours are freed, do you know what to do with the 8 hours? Are there good things you can do? So somebody is hacking us, right? So the question, I guess, that will confront many of you is, how do you cope or deal with the uncertainty that comes with the end of 9 to 5? The predictability of 9 to 5, the certainty of the check, all those things. That uncertainty seems so bad that you don't even want to contemplate it. Well, there's parts of my story I'd like to share with you. So, I asked myself one question. When I left formal employment, I was 52. I'm not that old, in spite of my looks. I was 52. I am now 55. So I asked I'm 55. I asked myself one question. What am I going to do for the next 25 years? Because I plan to live at least up to 85. Yeah, my grandfather died at 85, so there's a family standard. So it's a starting point. So I asked myself, what am I going to do with the next 25 years? Because I've been working for 30. So that means I can put in another 25 years of work, of building a whole new life. In the last 30 years, I have raised 3 children. They are going to go out. How do I reinvent myself outside of being a father, outside of being an employee? Do I start dating my wife round 2? What are the things that I need to do to, over the next 20 to 25 years, to make my life meaningful. Meaningful. So, while that question was bugging me, I used to come under pressure, a lot of pressure to give these kinds of talks. I used to get a lot of phone calls and messages of people to mentor. I want you to mentor me, which is another subject altogether. I don't know why people ask for mentors. You run into some nasty characters. But I said to myself, first of all, so to answer that question, the question of what do I do in the next 25 years, it is your responsibility. After one phase of your life ends, it is your responsibility to reinvent yourself. Nobody is going to do it for you. You find yourself in certain circumstances, that's it. I know I said this before, but I'll say it again. There are people who used to relate to you because of the circumstances you were in, you had a big job and all of this stuff, and as soon as all that ends, they go. So when they go, don't complain that people have abandoned me. No. It's an opportunity for you to make new friends. Those ones have gone here, the new ones, how? So I made some new friends. Some of them are even surprised that I am their friend now. They can't believe themselves. They're pinching. Are you part of us? They don't know how much I enjoy being part of them. Like, really? You're here with us? Yeah, there's no problem. So there are two things I did. One was I started to solve all the problems. I started something called a podcast, which I was doing on a platform that used to be called Twitter. And it had such a fantastic following until I got tired. Because at some point I was doing it for fun. And then a group of young people during that same time started a small community of about 6 or 7 of runners. And every day they would post their results. So one of them provoked me and asked me whether I could run the same distance that he had run. I actually went and did 1 kilometer better. So he had done 20 and he thought it was a big deal. I went and did 21. So a small competition started daily amongst us of running a distance and posting it. What has since happened is that community has exploded into a community of over 100 or so people. These were 7 or 8 of us 3 years ago. In that connection, so the first one was the podcast. I met a number of interesting, very young people through that. Some of them were in something called the ecosystem. Now, Michael will know what the ecosystem is. This is like a community of young innovators in the technology world. I was shocked at how many Ugandans, young people, are reshaping the future of technology, working quietly on the sidelines of Kampala. Nobody pays attention to them. But many of them are doing things that are incredible. One of them has just finished an animation for Disney+. Another one has just launched electronic bikes. There are some people who have set up fintechs. So I went into that world and I discovered young people shaping the future. And they were telling me about what the world is going to be like in the next 20 years. And I could see that if you are my age and you don't know about AI, and if you don't know about quantum computing, and if you don't know about machine learning, you have no idea the world that is coming, and you will be completely illiterate when that world arrives. And that world is coming very, very quickly. It's actually already here. There is something called 5G. So you will be totally crippled if you can't exist in that world and understand what those technologies are doing. So they forced me to learn about those things, and I avidly read and consume material about them. The second group was these young runners. So they forced me into a life of checking my physical health. And so a whole competition started between guys that I am 20 years older than me. And they would go and post, and then they would come and post, and then they would go and post. And now, it has become so normal that people run from here to Entebbe and come back and have breakfast like nothing has happened. But the more powerful lesson for me in doing that was that I went in thinking I had something to teach these young people and inspire them. On the contrary, they have taught me things that I could never have anticipated would happen, and the world would have shocked me in about 4 or 5 years' time. So today, I feel that I have become much younger because I hang out with people. On average, I am 25 years older than them. My regular spin instructor is 26 years and I am 55, so I'm double his age. And we're in the class competing as to who can last longer in terms of a speed cycling. It's either that, or I would be spending time with my peers discussing which is the best medicine for diabetes, who is the best doctor for high blood pressure, when are you next to going to Doctor's Plaza, can you find shoes which are comfortable for walking, do you have, there is this chair for people with lower back pain, today. So when I left work, I was 86 kilograms. I'm now 75. I lie on my back and fall asleep peacefully without a problem. I have no breathing problems. Actually, my biological age is 50. Biological age. There's calendar age and there's biological age. Why? Because I changed and started to hang out and behave like people who still see the world in terms of the future. Hang out with people who have a stake in the future, not people like me who are still talking about past glories. Us guys have no stake in the future. We are still celebrating in 19-something. Nobody cares. These kids were born in 2011. My spin instructor was in P4 in 2011. I was already managing director. But the point for me is please find new communities. If you can, find younger people. And one way you guys can do this is start going to Rotaract clubs. Go there, even if you're Rotarian, go there. Find out what Rotaractors are thinking and what they're discussing. You will know what the future is going to look like. Don't think they're an inconvenience. If that is too much to ask the Rotaractors to come here and tell you what they're trying to do. That is the one way you will reinvent yourself, and two things will happen. One, you will find new interests. If you had told me in 2019 that one of my hobbies would be going to climb mountains for fun, I would have told you to change your drink of choice. Now, I'm saying, if you had told me in 2019 that I would be climbing mountains as a hobby, I would tell you to change your drink of choice, because I think there's something wrong with you. Today, at the drop of a hat, I'll go up any mountain. Just like that. Because I run into hikers. I didn't know there was a whole community of young people who find incredible adventure in climbing mountains. Right now, if Michael provokes me, we can put on shoes and we're going to throw in a half marathon without a problem. We go, because we can go now. So, you develop new interests, then a whole new person emerges out of these new interests, a whole new meaning. You rediscover things about yourself that you had forgotten, because they're buried in the hours you spent in office, giving orders, looking at files, and thinking you're a big deal until you're reminded that you're actually not very much of a big deal. So, in order, I now understood with these young people that in order for me to be an inspiration to them, it didn't make any sense preaching to them. The only way you inspire young people, if you think you're of any use, and it gives you a lot of meaning and a lot of purpose, is do with them the things that they are doing. And I'm not saying you go to the nightclub and start behaving like them. That's a different type of. It should be fulfilling things. So for me, it's been, I sit with them, I learn from them about technology and the things that they're doing and why they're doing. I learn from them about enterprise. Then they trust me enough to ask me the questions that they think I have answers to, and I'll give those questions, those answers without judgment. When it's one thing to tell young people that it's good to look after your health. No, you must be physically fit. They don't care as long as you're just telling them. If you're running with them from Kampala to Entebbe and you're giving as good as they're giving, you have made a very powerful statement about living a healthy lifestyle. And then, as I said, you learn a lot of other things from them. And as I said, it gives you a new lease. You start to see yourself differently. You get a new meaning. Now, you notice I have said nothing about money. And it's deliberate. Because all people who are preparing for retirement, oh sorry, I used the word, who are preparing for life after employment, think that the only thing you can do is go and start a farm of coffee like I did, or go and build structures in swamps, and hope for tenants, or whatever other ways that you will discover very quickly that after you've done that, then what? So if you're into real estate, you're just an over-celebrated janitor, that's it. So if you have all of this money and you don't have to work anymore, that's fine. Where's the meaning? Where's the you? Where's the fulfillment? What are you? And so I encourage people and I say, please find new interests. And there are many. For instance, I know a famous Ugandan, I think she has made this public, so I can quote her. Winnie Byanyima says she's gotten an instructor to teach her how to dance Lingala. Why not? Go and learn a new language. I've told my son to bring back his saxophone because I think I want to go and learn how to play saxophone. It's not too late. Do you know why that's important for you to do at this stage? Because it has been proven that that's one way to ward off dementia. Sorry, don't worry about the guys online there. Don't worry about that. This, I think, for me is more fundamental. Please make new connections. So, if you are working, can you create another community outside of your workplace? Now, you guys here are doing so well so far because Rotary is one place you go to do that. Join a church group, join a choir, join a dance group, join an exercise group, join anything. But please belong to a community. Connect with other people. Make it a habit. Greet a stranger every morning. You'll be surprised the kinds of people you'll be. Yeah, you're looking at me surprised. Runners are notorious for that. We greet every stranger as long as we're both running. You meet, you never seen the person before, they're running, you're running, and you give a thumbs up, they give a thumbs up, you've connected. The next time you meet, before you know it, you're talking. Why? Because we know the shared thing. So connect with new people. It gives you a different perspective to life, and talk to anyone and everybody that you can find. They have something to teach you. Develop a new skill. So if you're an engineer today, or if you're don't know which professions are here. Go and learn how to be an accountant. Why not? If you're a doctor, go and read history. Like me now, because I'm from a history background, I might as well go and learn some physics. The most important thing for me actually is biology, because now I run a farm, so I have to learn about photosynthesis, osmosis, I don't know, capillary action and all that stuff. It's interesting. So, the other one is, please, now I'm going to shock you. Every one of you seated here, perhaps with the exception of Michael, all of you are candidate for a stroke. All of you. You're just a heart attack waiting to happen. You'll be shocked tonight. So my point is, start to look after your health. Intentionally mind what you ingest, what you eat. Just start to take care of yourself. Because you have time. You're not sitting in an office. So what are you doing? Don't just eat. And eat anything and everything. Travel if you can. And travel doesn't mean an aeroplane. It just means leave your neighborhood. Find out who your neighbor is. That's a starting place. Walk every day. Go find out what do people in the ghetto do. Stray there by accident and see. One of the reasons we go running around marathons is they introduce us to neighborhoods we had no idea existed. And you see how people live. Then you'll understand why some get carried away by floods and others live large. But it creates a new perspective. Money, it will continue to be a problem no matter how much you prepare. Because I've experienced it. I thought I was ready. And then I made some bad calls. So I'm back to square one and I have to start all over again. But because I am prepared to start all over again, are you prepared to start all over again? So Abel, when you get slammed by a hard tackle in rugby, how do you recover to enter the scrum? Or do you go crying and saying life is hard? It's always been hard. You're just figuring it out now. But most importantly, I repeat with what I started. It's an opportunity, very powerful opportunity to rethink your life, to redefine your life in a new direction. The only thing that I would advise you is don't leave it too late that you cannot do anything about it at that point. Because sometimes, out of fear, we stay too long. And then we become hostages of the positions we're in. And we go and have our ages amended so that retirement doesn't come. We're stuck in an office and we're there. It's late in life. You really have nothing to do. It's not the only thing you can do. Okay, I mean, go and teach in a primary school. Why not? Go and be a volunteer at a baby's home. Different experiences. So, but use it as an opportunity to redefine the direction of your life. The only day your life will end is the day you die. Before that, you have an opportunity to rebuild it, redefine it, and make it more meaningful than it was before. Just have a positive view that life can be spectacularly better at every stage because you have better experiences. The end of your work is not the end of your life. In fact, it could just be the liberation of your life. Thank you.
A very good question. Whenever you have retired, they will ask you, what do you do? And that question comes in 10 times every time you meet somebody. So, if I know you don't know about Rotary, I will tell you I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Bukoto. So, I have answered that question. If you ask me and you're a Rotarian, I will tell you I am the member of the men's club in St. Augustine Church. What we do, maybe we just collect money to do something. So that is the biggest question that those who have retired face. And sometimes you find that when you are asked that question, you don't feel comfortable to answer it. Even they ask me, Mr. Kilamale, what does your wife do? I say, my wife takes care of chicken. Then the question comes, how many chicken? I will then have to exaggerate the figure. So, Mr. Robert, can you try to put up something which will establish the relationship of those who have retired and those who have not yet retired, so that the two, if you know I have retired, then don't ask me difficult questions. Because if I tell you, I am now taking my kid to senior 4. I'm maybe 65, and I'm taking my kid to senior 4. Don't ask him more questions, because you know what happened.
Period. Because it looks like a very big issue around there, the how to manage the cash, the expenditure. Yes, thank you so much.
When does one get to prepare for the end of the journey of that formal employment and accept to live the life of reality and get out of the fantasy? And at what stage is it normal to quit? I am asking because I said bye to corporate or formal workspace when I was 28. And I was called stupid, I was called foolish. The family will give you the buck. So why did you go to school? You just become wasted. Girlfriends will chuck you. Like you said, you have no office anymore. Because they used to know you because as a journalist, you're in parliament covering all that. And now you seem to be nothing. And for me, it was rediscovering myself. And doing what I think I'm doing now. I'll do this, what I'm doing outside, until death finds me. And I've found great fulfillment and purpose. And that's the running that we are doing now and all that. But many will think that taking a decision to quit formal life when I quit is the most stupid thing ever to have happened. So when is the best time to transition and quit? Or when do you prepare to quit?
Okay. Good. The answer to both questions is the same. So what? So what? It doesn't matter what your family or anybody else says what you choose to do. The only person who has to pay the price is you. So why are you bothered about all of these other people? The only people who bother me, or I'll be bothered about in making my choices and decisions, is my wife and the children. That's it, end of story. So, but the real answer to your question is there is no time. There is no time X when you say now I'm leaving for my employment or what. Some will never leave. The only thing you should know, this is something that I was always aware of from the day I walked into the office, is that I would leave. That's guaranteed. I knew I would leave. So I was perpetually prepared in the office for that departure. How? I never put photos of my family. I never had personal things. I was always ready to leave within 20 minutes of being told it's time to go. I don't waste time. There was nothing personal in the drawers, nothing. It was official work. So when it actually happened, I packed everything. They were in a bag. I entered the mic and I went, finished. Some of you think your offices are your homes. Your wife, your kids on the wall, and then you have sweaters, shoes in the... What are you doing? It's not a bloody bedroom. It is an office. You have your favorites, I don't know what. Why? Why? So that's what complicates these decisions. Like I said, you become attached to an office. So you are lucky enough to figure it out early. Some will figure it out later. Some will be forced to to figure it out. Just know, the only thing you need to keep constant is that you must move on at some point. Life is very funny. It keeps sending you signals. That, boss, it's time. But you know, you're too deaf to ignore it. I can give you a signal that I completely missed. And I should have known. You know, like a couple of maybe months or so before, you know, you call people you knew, well, normally you'd ring them, and they pick immediately. They're not picking. You call them back twice, they're not picking. What has happened? He says, no, I'll call you back. Then eventually they say, but why was this person not wanting to associate with me? What's the problem? Does he know something I don't? And actually, people are telling you that, by the way, your time is up, but we can't tell you. But sorry, you meet, you greet him, he moves very quickly. Then you know, it's just a matter of time. You're like a drunkard's chicken. Any time, he'll eat you for supper. So the signs are there. The signs are there that life has a way of telling you, you know, your time is up. Get ready. But for you, you ignore it. You think, I can manage. Then one day the voice becomes really loud. Boss, leave now. Now. So be attuned to those signs. If in the workplace they are giving work to your juniors, they are the ones they are calling to meetings, then the writing is on the wall really. It's now, if the boss used to consult you, now you're a burden. He doesn't call you to meetings, he doesn't greet you. Or if you look around you and the age demographic is 20 years, maybe that's a sign. People are talking a technology language you can't cope with. That's also a sign. If, like my mother, you're using a typewriter, there's some people who don't know typewriters, then you know it's time to go. Find your level, do other things. So, Patrick, the next time somebody asks you what you do, tell them nothing. End of story. Nobody will ever ask you any question, what is nothing? Just nothing. And folks, it is okay to do nothing. And it is perfectly okay to be nothing. So don't look for something to be. You know, I look after chicken. No, you don't. Because then I'll ask you, how do you treat the disease of coccidiosis? And you have no. Members, and this is not for him alone, this is for all of you. I told her, please do not introduce me by my former status or any status now. It's not important. Because I can tell you today that I grow coffee. Tomorrow, floods come and I don't have coffee anymore. Now what? Former coffee. Why must you have an epithet? Why must you have a descriptor? So just tell them, they ask you, so these people who work, because for them they feel big, they have something, their life is anchored on something. Just tell them nothing, and they'll be shocked. And when they're shocked, say, you mean you can do or be nothing? Yes. You just come and you sit, and life is normal. Then you go away and you eat food. It's all right, there's no problem. The cash flows. Well, I don't think there is a formula. I just think all you need to know is that if, like me, you have another 20 or 25 years to go, you're going to need to be involved in something that generates income. You must be involved in something that generates income. You can't be on past assets because they will get finished. So, and let me say this because I was going to forget. There are very many trained young people today in Kampala who know how to structure investments for you. But if you don't trust them, and they're certified by Capital Markets Authority, they're called investment advisors, please go and see them. Don't go to your pastor or the witch doctor or your relatives. They don't know anything. There are investment advisors, they exist. If you don't want to see them, go to your bankers. They have advice. Worst case scenario, okay, if things are refused, go to NSSF. They will advise you well on how to structure your liquid assets in such a way that they can look after you long after you have left employment. For you people now, you can't start buying goats and cows and pigs and land and what. No, no, no. You are a monetized generation, especially the younger ones, the Psalms, the Annas. Start to think about instruments, financial instruments, and don't guess you are not an investor. The fact that, Robert, I don't know what you do for a living. What's your profession? You are an accountant. The fact that you are an accountant, that's a good example. The fact that you're an accountant doesn't make you an investment guru. No, you're not. The fact that you are very clever and you became a nuclear physicist, you know nothing about money. So go, so this is the advice I give. When you are sick, you go to a doctor. So why don't you treat yourself? When you need legal advice, you go to a lawyer. Not so. So when you need financial advice, why are you going to your pastor? Or to your relative who you think is successful? Go to an investment advisor. They will tell you, when you do this, it will give you this return. When you do this, it will give you this return. Okay, how safe is this? You give them the money. Then it is. But over and above that, my advice to you is, find something that can continue to generate some income for you that you can manage to do. You can either acquire a new skill and get another job or something like that. That's what I would say. So that's how you keep the revenue streams flowing in. But also, if that's not possible, then get investment advisors who will tell you, give you the choices that you can then, make. So that's what I would say about that. So the other three questions, then, yeah. Maybe I stay here.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Robert. I am just going to read the questions online. I like that he used the word's concept to describe retiring. What is his take on the issue that employment is employed by the capitalistic countries to keep a certain class in bondage? It's a type of slavery. Then the other question is from Rotary Bunozi RC Namgongo. If you were given a chance to go back and do something to prepare for retirement, what would you have done different, or what would you do different? Do you have personal regrets? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Robert. Thank you so much for those useful insights. Actually, I think Rotarian Gloria, one of your last questions, I had a similar question, so I was my case.
So which one is that? It's about whether I have regrets. Is it whether I have regrets?
Yeah, what you do different.
Or what I would do different?
What would you do?
Thank you very much, Robert. That's been a very insightful presentation. My observation is this, that most of the times you'll find that women adapt better after employment, after formal employment. And the men, on the other hand, struggle, more especially the category, the ones that you've described. They spend long hours in office, they're in meeting after meeting. The only network they have is the work network. And when time comes for them to say, okay, fine, it's time for you to leave, it's like they didn't expect it, they didn't see it coming, and when they go out, they are lost. I have a friend whose father used to wake up in the morning and do the routine. He would wake up, dress up, then he would go to Ginger Town, then pick a newspaper, then drive round, you know, because he didn't know what to do, you see? And then he would get home, read his paper, but how many times can you read a newspaper? At a certain point, then he would sit, and he was completely lost. So I do agree with you that that it is not the end of the world, but we have to think differently. There should be a paradigm shift in the way we perceive life after formal employment. And the second point was in regard to the things, you know, most of the times we put it in our heads and we say, it is too late, I can't do this, I'm too old, you know, that kind of thing. And we've put ourselves in the back burner, not knowing that what you are allowed to believe actually comes true. You become what you think over time. So maybe my take in all this is, maybe Robert, this talk is very critical, more especially for the men. They are lost. Believe you me, they are completely, they do not know. I have a former colleague who could be the same age as you. The moment he was told, okay, fine, time for you to leave, that guy, like for the next couple of months, he still would come back for my employment, sit in the office, wow, get a paper. So they had to even remove the furniture.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just to send it home that it's time for you to what? To go. It was that bad. They had to call him in. They eventually gave him another, you know, package, you know, to finalize. But it was not about the money. It was about the attachment to the job, and which job, believe you me, doesn't belong to you anyway.
I will describe. So, when I was asked to leave, I was given 90 days to prepare the handover. So, when my successor came into office, the board said to me, you know, because my 90 days hadn't elapsed. So they said, no, actually, you need to be in office in case he has things to ask you. I said, that's fine. I will come in the mornings, sit in the boardroom. He knows I am there. And so if he needs to ask me anything, but I will not sit in meetings because it causes confusion. Because you have two bosses. And so it's agreed between me, him, and the chairman that I would come in and sit. So day one, I came in. Day two, I came in. Day three, I had not been asked or consulted on anything. I knew my time was up. I never went back. I just left. There's no point. And I know this. I mean, this is not a secret. So go. What are you doing there? Just go. To make you laugh, Patrick, my answer the first time they would ask me, so what do you do now? I said, I'm a house husband. I answered it 3 times, they never asked me again. But I also formed my own ritual because somebody was asking me about a ritual. My departure from work coincided with my wife firing the house girl. I think she did it deliberately. But I found a new relevance. So now I would wake up, I would wash the dishes, I would clear up, lay the bed. Then I would say bye to her when she's going to work. I found a new ritual. Of course, when it became obvious that the whole dish thing was becoming a bit too much, I was retrenched from that role, and then I built a new ritual, which is running every morning and going into a world of exercise and all of that. So you don't need to get stuck. Just find new things, find new rituals, create new ways of existing. It's there, it's possible, and it doesn't reduce who you are. You've put in 30 years of work like I did. You cannot take that away from me. So if you have to develop the self-confidence, do that. And it's true what you're saying. because most men invest their egos in their work and it defines them. Women rarely do that. So they cope better with the change of circumstances. Us guys really struggle. And also because you don't have, you ask men what happened during lockdown. They started quarreling about forks, cups, how many pieces of meat had been cooked. These are things they were not used to doing, but now they're in the house, they're stuck. So I'll say that the second one was employment, capitalism, slavery. Well, every human being must be involved in some form of productive activity. So you are either an entrepreneur or an employee, but you can't just sit there and hope for the best. Yes, if it is capitalists enslaving you, and you getting a salary. If it doesn't work, then get out, and then you see whether the alternative is better. So I believe every human being has an obligation to be involved in productive work. That's it. You can't say I will not work. Then the last question was, what would I do differently? Now I didn't know whether what I would do differently, having left work, or what I would do differently if I went back to work. If I went back to work, I have discovered there are things that don't really matter. So for instance, there was no need for me to be in the office till midnight. What for? I could have done everything within 7 hours and gone home and spent more time at home. One, with my family, but two, you guys, like me, you build nice houses and you buy all this furniture and buy all these televisions in your house that you never watch, you never sit in your chairs, you never even... So you're sitting, feeling cold at a chimeza, in a lounge, and you're spending money, but you have a house. You never sit in it. You never sleep. Okay, you sleep. And it's also not very good sleep because it is partly interfered with by what you have carried from the lounge. So there are things I would have liked to enjoy a bit more. But this was one of the things that I used to tell guys. Whatever you do, remember that when you die, the guy who is replacing you is the one who will come with the wreath, the contribution from the office, and read the speech on behalf of the employer. It won't be your boss. It will be your replacement most times. Acting, head of procurement. When the procurement manager has died. So the question I would ask myself is it worth it? Who are the people that matter to me? Who are they? And does it help them? And I made that discovery when I told them that work had ended. And they all just told me, thank you, we can now have you back. So, as you approach your work, figure out, is it worth it? So I would ask that question. And if it is not, I go. Money isn't everything. Yes, it is something, but it isn't everything. And the other thing that I would do better, which I didn't do then, is look after my health a lot better than I ever did. Because, oh yeah, thirdly, I would sleep more. Oh boy, just sleep. Don't worry about all the other things. Just leave the worries in the office. You go and sleep. Somebody will figure out the answers to the questions. Do I have any regrets? What's the value of a regret? What purpose does it serve? I did everything that I did when I did it because there was a purpose for doing it at the time when I did it. If it offended people, I didn't intend to offend you. But I did what I did because it had to be done by the person who was responsible to do it, and that was me. So, are there things that I did in my personal life that I wish I had never done? Not in the workplace, but did I? Maybe, yes, maybe I made some bad choices. But my view of life is that even bad choices are fantastic lessons of how you make choices, how you arrive at judgments. You are not born a smart person so that you make all the correct judgments. No, we all learn through those mistakes. So regret serves no purpose. And don't go around regretting any life's experiences that you had, because you are saying that those events or those experiences were useless. No event is useless. It teaches you what you can be, what you should be, but above all, it allows you to grow into the person that you become. If you keep regretting, you will never move forward. You will always be held back by looking over your shoulder and saying, I wish I had done this. No, there's no point. It happened, finished. End of story. So, really, that's all I can tell you. And in conclusion, I really, really wish you all the best. That's so important. But most importantly, please do introspection. Look at yourself, connect with yourself, have conversations with yourself, because you are the only person that will be with you all the time. If you don't spend time with yourself figuring out who you are, nobody will, and nobody cares. And you may think the people you live with care. Yeah, they do, but you're the one. So if you can't figure out who you are and what you should be doing, that's your headache. It's on you. Don't blame the weather. Don't blame the economy. And certainly not the guy in the State House.
Presence, friends that are around. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much, Robert, for sparing your time. We know it's very precious. Yes. So we want to thank you. These are some of the things that we never get to talk about. We avoid talking about them, but that is life. I think it's very important that we start thinking about that. Personally, the moment I hit 50, I started planning. And I have a mind shift, around everything. I even know what conversations, if they told me, Sheila, tomorrow you're fired, I have a conversation, that I won't be there scared, what am I going to do next? I know what I'm going to do next. So it's the same thing when they preach to you, to accept Jesus as your personal Savior and Lord. And what they tell you, you never know. Today might be the last day you're leaving. You never know. But they are not saying that is going to be your last day. But they're saying be prepared. Be prepared. In all these things we have to be prepared. Today, you have today. You have now. Tomorrow is not assured. But all you can do is be prepared in the now. Thank you very much, Robert. Yes.
They have learned a thing or two tonight. And so, I'd like to present the certificate to you from the President of the Rotary Club of Bukoto for a wonderful and informative presentation to the members and guests of the Rotary Club of Bukoto on the topic, Is There Meaningful Life After Retirement? On the 7th day of May, 2024. Thank you so much. Oh wow. You even have a cup to drink coffee from. Go to a coffee farmer. Here you go. Thank you. Oh my.
He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. Oh, he's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. And no one can deny.